talk about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 786, Ghostbusters 4, if you're a misogynist.
5?
Ghostbusters 5, if you're not. No, I'm just...
That one's not in continuity. This is 4.
Yeah, no, I was going to
It's
say,
not in
in all
continuity
honesty,
for now.
I would consider this 4 because it's not in...
I would not be
The girl
surprised.
one is not in continuity.
They have,
If
because
they
they have the old Ghostbusters playing different characters in that.
Yeah,
one.
I would
sure,
not
yeah.
be surprised if they find a way
No.
to do a Ghostbusters multiverse.
No.
And they bring in the other four.
Well, depends on how this one does. They might have to.
Yeah, that's
That-
true.
That one, I mean, is
Yeah.
right or wrong.
Yep.
Wrong. It's
Wrong.
It's so tainted and toxic.
Sure.
They would never bring it in.
Always say that.
It would, no, because
There
these
would
movies
have
are
to
trying
be
to correct.
a major to come around on that as a property.
Did they announce? Did
collectively.
they announce that as like that version as well as a sequel, a legacy sequel, or was the legacy sequel in
response?
response?
to-
It was a
yeah.
response.
Okay, but they didn't announce them at the same time.
If that one
No.
did well, they would be the Ghostbusters.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
if that had worked, we'd be on our third one of those right
That's
now.
true. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it did not.
It did not.
Yeah.
Because fans are dickbags. Not fans.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
People.
I mean, look,
I don't like that movie, but it has nothing to do with it being Lady
Movie's fine.
Ghostbusters.
I like the movie.
I thought. Here's my thing. It
Who are
actually.
you?
It
You-
rem-
who is
I'm sorry.
Who is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. Have we started already?
we have started. But
You haven't started yet.
I haven't started yet. Sorry.
No,
No,
go
I wanna hear what
ahead,
you're saying.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it remembered that Ghostbusters is a comedy.
Yes.
You know, that's the
Ding.
thing where it got it right. Where
Yes.
these new ones, well, this one a little bit got it right. The one before, not so much.
Yeah. So,
Bingo.
Well, let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom. And joining us today is Matt Reedy. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Hi. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for
Matt
being here.
Matt Reedy from the Dune 2 letter.
Yes, exactly.
He's like, counterpoint.
Yeah.
Might or might not have slept through the movie.
Actually, my counterpoint wasn't so much a counterpoint. It was in between.
It really
you
was,
And,
yeah.
But you know what? That episode got a lot of views, so maybe we
It
should
did.
talk more about Dune 2. I don't think that's a bad
You know
thing.
what else got a lot of views really quickly? Love Life's Bleeding.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah, it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
in only a few days, it's over 500-600 views. so.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and Priscilla got a lot of views. So,
3.6
Hate views.
thousand.
Those are great.
do we just want to start off by saying that Slimer is a pedophile?
Oh, I was like, Elvis Presley's a pedophile? You're right.
Maybe Slimer is Elvis's ghost. They never did really say.
It would explain the culinary decisions
Yeah.
That's
Slimer's
true. Yeah.
making,
Just
so-
sliming everybody that comes in contact with them.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking the big pile of fast food and
That's what, yeah. No, also
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it works on both levels. So before we dig in, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, YouTube, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. It's super helpful, and it's greatly appreciated, and it's good for our wounded egos. You can also...
guns.
Yes.
Hey.
You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page. Join the group. The group is called the League of Show Sharers with artwork designed by Matt Reedy.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's called the League of Show Sharers because we're hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Travis Tewitt, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Tom Dowdy, Ralph Tribble, Chris Falls, Phil Timon, Julianne Jordan, Richard Krotzer, Chris Magic Man, Gabriel Lugo, Taylor Ward, Heather Sachs, Corey Tatum, James Install, David Rojas, Colby Mack, Binge Movies, Geek to Me Radio, Mike and Oscar, In Session Film, Ronnie Castle, Matt Niglia, and The Film Bee. So thank you very much. Also, don't forget you can watch all of these on the aforementioned YouTube. And you can support the show if you are so inclined over at Patreon at patreon.com/realspoilers, where 100% of the money goes to Matt F.
Basler. We have to.
Yeah,
We-
100% of the profits. You're 100% correct. All profits go to Matt F. Bosler.
Yeah, but the MCU's done. It's
Yeah,
in
we're
the
that-
can. That's finished.
Yeah, we recorded that last week, and we're getting ready for MCU Phase 2. so
No,
that's
we
gonna
did
be
phase 2.
exciting.
Phase 2 is on the main show. We just didn't do phase 1
Someone's trying to turn this into a horror podcast.
because it
and-
is. That's what it is. It's a horror movie
But
podcast.
there's a lot of stuff on there, a lot of horror and non-horror and interviews, and there's all sorts of stuff. So check that out.
There is one thing that I think we should. I did not mention on the Patreon, and I guess I can mention. There's going to be if you're thinking about joining the Patreon, I recommend it only because since we've wrapped up the MCU, we're going to put a poll up of a bunch of different stuff we can do. The one thing I didn't bring up that I thought about after this is the Crow, like the Crow series. We haven't.
Oh my gosh.
We haven't covered those.
All
I
the
don't think
sequels.
I did an audio commentary with local DJ Learn from 105.7 The Point. We did a commentary over the main movie, but I don't think we've ever talked about those. Given the most recent, I don't know, 50-50 split over the new Crow trailer, I think that might be something that could be kind of fun to go back and revisit. Even the really bad, like, you guys don't even know.
Edward Furlong.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There was a TV show. There was
Oh.
a syndicated TV show with
Oh, yeah.
Mark Dacakis as Eric Draven. So they bring him. There's
Do you have to bleep it out when he says Dukakis?
It's questionable.
yeah
It's Matt Bukakis.
Oh, I don't know if you can say that either.
but he's the guy. He's the guy. If you don't know, he's from the American version of.
He's from Double Dragon.
That's also correct.
He's from Double Dragon. Let's
but
get
I
real.
think most people probably know him as the host of the American
Chef or whatever.
Iron Chef.
Iron Chef.
Yeah. So you kids that are complaining about Bill Skarsgård looking like the Crow, go back and watch City of Angels, The Crow Salvation, Wicked Prayer. Don't talk to me about
We'll see.
bad looking Crow movies.
I love it
'cause-
when people complain about, like, you're ruining the original.
No, you're not.
When there's, like, first off, no, the original's still there. Second, there's like 45 different ruined versions of the original.
Yes, that's exactly
Like,
right.
just forget they exist, like
all you gotta-
everyone does with the Smokey and the Bandit made-for-TV movies.
Correct.
There's like
Correct.
8 of those things.
Is
And
there
they're-
really that many?
I think so. There's-
Smokey is the bandit.
Well, that's the third one,
Oh, that was
or
the
was
third.
going to be the third one. But there's like they did a whole.
Without Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, it was. They were made for TV movies. They did this thing called the Action Pack.
Oh yeah.
and it aired in syndication, and then and every week it would rotate between different established IPs, and so there was a series of made for TV movie sequels to Smokey and the Bandit, and then there was a series of, I think they did Dukes of Hazzard with a whole new thing, and then they did Midnight Run with Shooter McGavin.
Oh really?
Yeah,
As who?
As
De
the
Niro?
De Niro character.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Did you hear there's a script for 2?
Like
Sandler handed it to Shooter McGavin at a con or something recently. He said, "Hey, you'll like this." Handed it to
Happy Gilmore too?
Yeah.
No
to
thanks.
for Netflix.
No.
Oh,
I mean, I like the first. That's the thing is, you were just talking about it. I love that first movie. I don't need a second one.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no one needs it. Now Chubbs can't be in it.
That's true.
Like, even as a ghost, remember? Because
I guess you could make him. I mean, if they brought back Egon in the first
I don't
movie,
think they're. I don't think they're gonna bring him back.
It's what Carl Weathers would have wanted.
That's exactly
he has to
right.
be back
yeah.
as a CG
He actually,
ghost.
Carl
It's like,
Weathers,
as long
like
as you're paying my estate.
That's right. That's right.
So, but anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in.
Well, before
shall
we do,
Oh,
Matt, I think it's obviously this time of March is the Real Spoilers / Review STL birthday week.
Oh yeah.
So Kevin's is tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Blake's was a couple days ago.
Yeah,
Steve's was yesterday.
yeah.
Dan's was a couple days ago. Mine was on Tuesday.
and I'm in September.
And you're
You're the only one that's not a March.
But Matt Reedy, I don't know if you can see this on camera, was kind enough to give me a Wolfman's Got Nards sticker from Monster Squad, which is great. I love it so much. Thank
Yeah,
you so
Jeff
much, Matt.
Carlson is the artist. I sat up next to him at a convention last year. And
I love it.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Boop."
I will say one of the fun things about this community is I have been given. I guess that's not true. I paid Brad for that poster. Brad,
but they're looking out for you.
yes, they're looking at which I love it so much. So if you don't know this story, Brad We were literally recording an episode, and Brad Hyan, friend of the show, was at a convention, and a guy had a rolled theater used Monster Squad poster. And he was like, this guy's, do you want this? And I was like, how much is he asking for it? And he was like, $25. I was like, buy it. Like, buy it now and I'll pay you for it. And so I have that framed in my new house.
For an actual theater poster, $25 is pretty good.
Yeah.
for real.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes you get the, like, it's theater used, but you can feel the paper stock is like, that's not
Right.
But I touching that one, I was like, that's
one sheet's thick.
Yes.
Like, and slick.
yes.
Glossy.
And they're almost
Thick and slick.
they're
All
see through.
right.
Like they have to have
because
like,
they put behind the light.
that's exactly
light
it.
box.
Yeah.
The
So,
old
like,
ones were like
double-sided.
double-sided, but the other side was in reverse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like my Superman Returns poster.
Yeah.
That's just the S, like just for the record, because it's a cool looking poster, is just like that. And my Halloween Returns poster is like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much, Matt. This is so good. It's gonna. I love that movie.
Awesome.
Okay, let's dig into Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire.
I had a lot of fun at this movie. I thought it was light. I just
Glad
don't.
someone did.
Yeah, I just.
It's
but-
okay. It's
It's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's where I landed. I'm like, it's fine.
Like, I wasn't mad that I spent money and bought popcorn.
That's
you know what I mean?
where
It was,
I'm at.
It was
Yes.
fine, but
this is a really good live action adaptation of the cartoon.
Yes.
Thank you. That was
Yeah.
my exact thought.
Yeah,
I was like,
like-
this is an episode of the real Ghostbusters, but overstuffed.
But there's
Right,
yeah.
this weird thing happening with Ghostbusters where I feel like each one of these is an overcorrection to something that happened before, right? So I think there's two good Ghostbusters movies. I think Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters Afterlife are the two good movies. I think the second one's bad. I think this one's okay.
It's
I
weird.
think-
The second one to me.
The second one's like the first half of it is good.
Yeah.
And then it just loses the thread.
It goes
so
wackadoo.
boring. You don't see a ghost for 30 minutes in the second one.
Here's
It
the
is
thing,
so
though,
boring.
is I don't
And
care.
The ending is a retread of
Yes.
the first
Yeah.
one.
And
so is this one.
Yeah.
But instead of fighting a giant marshmallow man, they fight a giant statue
yeah,
of
it's the
Liberty.
same. Yeah,
But the
no,
big-
they didn't.
no,
they were the statue.
they were the
That's
statue.
right. Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
but still,
But
big,
visually, it's
big
the same.
giant creature.
Right.
And also, it's like coming off the first one, and then all of a sudden, it's like everyone hates the Ghostbusters and doesn't believe they're real. And
Okay, so that's, I mean, I'm not defending it,
Yeah.
but like that is a lazy sequel trope that you see in almost every sequel from that. Right? They don't continue a story.
Yeah.
It's like they because they didn't plan to make a bunch of them. Like this is the upside to movies always planning for sequels these days. Is
There's a story.
They try to lay the groundwork, but original people they never thought they'd make more Ghostbusters. It was going to be one and done, and they move
Right.
on to the next thing. And so all your problems, all your conflict is resolved.
Yeah.
And so then to create conflict, they always end up busting up the team and destroying the magic of the first one.
Like this one.
Because you spend the bulk of the movie with the people you loved hanging out together being mad at each other and not hanging
Yeah,
out
I don't like it.
It's so
and
it-
you
they-
see it all the time
You're
in
absolutely
sequels
right.
from that
Well,
era.
it's think of all the Rocky movies. They always have to have a contrivance to make him the underdog.
Right.
You know, he comes out on top. Something's got to knock him back down to
Yeah,
zero.
for sure.
And then every
Yeah.
time.
Which honestly, in the Rocky movies, though, that's not terrible. You know,
there's
like,
always someone stronger that comes and challenges,
Or
the top
younger.
guy.
or
Yeah,
younger,
yeah.
Which,
But
or
the-
Russianer.
yeah, Russian.
Yeah. But so, and I think the other problem with Ghostbusters 2 was the advent of CGI.
Yeah.
And so in the original Ghostbusters,
he is Vigo.
it's all practical for the most. I mean, Slimer's not, but
sure,
like,
no, he's a puppet.
is he a puppet?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a puppet in the new movie too for some of the scenes.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But like, it's basically all practical. When she's levitating on that bed,
Yeah.
they're doing magic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a magic trick.
Yep.
That they're filming, and because of that, Bill Murray would be there and he would riff. But with Ghostbusters 2, they start doing CGI, and then they're not together.
Yeah.
And it loses that comedy
In the
chemistry,
moment.
which in my estimation, the franchise has never gotten back.
Well, I don't think we've talked about this before. Is that era of writing is over, right? Like they're not. You don't have comedy writers writing comedies anymore. You
Yeah.
have writers who are trying to throw in funny stuff. So Ivan Reitman and I would consider Judd Apatow guys that could write funny stuff.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis is a great example.
And Judd Apatow would let funny comedic actors be funny,
Do their thing.
and then
Sometimes for a little bit too long.
yeah, sure,
But-
and then edit it together,
Yeah.
and get you the best of it, and that's not what they're doing here. And
No.
what's really weird is I get the vibe
Yeah.
that they did do it,
Oh,
and then they didn't use any of it.
interesting.
Like there are moments that feel like someone's riffing a little bit. I like Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
I think the Paul Rudd "Busted" makes me feel good. Like
That was great.
I think that was just Paul
That's-
Rudd being Paul Rudd.
That's probably the best line in the movie.
Yeah,
honestly.
and I don't think that was in the
Well,
script.
I think this is the biggest problem. Well, there's two main complaints I have. The one thing is the old Ghostbusters, this is such a nostalgia fest, but the old Ghostbusters wrapped it up perfectly in Afterlife.
Yep.
Stop trying to ham fist in nostalgia with the old Ghostbusters.
I don't even mind Ray. I like the idea of Ray.
Ray's the best part of the movie, but
Yeah.
but I'm just saying the whole
Agreed.
let's get them back suited up and busting
Right.
ghosts. We did that.
We saw it.
We had a touching moment.
Yep.
Egon was there as a ghost. Like they finalized that. Have Ray be doing his spiritual stuff, whatever, and guiding them and guiding McKenna Grace. That's fine. But stop being like, oh, we have to suit them up. Like I get it. You love them, and they're not going to be around forever. I get why they want to do it, but it just slows the movie down to a screeching halt.
And it doesn't have the impact that it did in.
It does
in
not.
Afterlife.
No, they're undermining it because they got together for Afterlife and they got
I
it.
even think if you do if you put Ray in Ray's role, I think that works perfectly because that's who Ray was, right?
And Dan Aykroyd, I haven't seen him be this good in a long time.
No.
Like I thought he did some good acting in this.
But I
movie.
think having Ernie Hudson as the philanthropist,
businessman, yeah.
I'm fine with
Have
that.
them doing
Nick,
that.
having
Nick Fury of Ghostbusters.
yes, right. Having Bill Murray in that one little snippet, I think is also fine.
Right.
But having them all come back at the end.
It's just, they should
And
all
then
be
they don't do
graduated. They're not
anything.
Ghostbusters anymore. You have Ray do the shop thing, Ernie be the real estate guy, Bill Murray doing whatever he does, and he pops in. But to keep having to bring them back to do the thing,
Is it William
This is
Atherton?
my biggest argument or complaint with this movie is
Yeah.
there's too many Ghostbusters.
oh,
Yeah.
there's too many
way,
characters.
way too many. I mean, you have the new team, you have the
yeah.
old team, but then you have now this third team of Winston's people,
Yeah.
which are I don't
And
even
they've
know
got
why.
people. They've got the kids from the last
Yeah,
one.
they
have to shove in.
had some excuse to move those kids from.
Why are they in
what
New
was it,
York, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Why are those two kids in New York?
Yeah.
Like really, they're kids.
They
that
got
were-
an internship.
Yeah, he's at space camp.
But why couldn't they have just left them there? And they don't have to be in this
Well,
movie.
because
And-
Podcast was a very popular character.
Was
and
he?
I
Was
I,
yeah,
thought-
I think
I thought he was great,
Yeah.
but I don't need him in every movie.
And what about the other new guy? I can't even remember his name.
I have no idea who that
the guy with the
was.
accent.
Yeah.
Guy that looks like cartoon Egon.
Yes, thank you. That was my thought. I was like, they
Yeah.
got cartoon Egon here. They shortened his hair a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't even put that together
I'm not
until you
quite
just
sure
said that.
what he brought to this.
This is the problem with this movie. Paul Rudd, Gary Gruberson, Carrie Coon, Callie Spangler, Finn Wolfhard, Trevor Spangler, McKenna Grace, Phoebe Spangler, Kumail Nanjiani, Nadeem Razami, Patton Oswalt, Dr. Hubert Wartsky, Celeste O'Connor, Lucky, Logan Kim, Podcast, Emily Allen Lynn, not Jenna Ortega, James Acaster, British Egon, not Egon guy, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, William Atherton. And then, but those are like the main characters, but they just try to show you all of them so much. This movie's sub 2 hours. You have that many characters. It's too much, and no one gets
First
the
off,
time.
it should be sub 2 hours. just
Agreed.
to
It's
be
fine,
clear.
but
Yeah.
but you
Yeah,
shove
it's-
this many characters, divide that by each one, and try to give them.
You know, back to the funny stuff is if you watch the trailer,
Yeah.
that scene in the mayor's office with William Atherton is totally different
In the first one.
in the trailer.
In the first Ghostbusters.
no,
or
no,
in this one.
This one. He's talking about this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it really?
It's totally different because they're doing this whole thing where they think like they're pretending like it's court, and then Finn Wolfhard is like he's like objection sustained, thank you, and it's like it's actually it's an amusing little back and forth,
Yeah.
and none of it's in the movie.
this
No.
one is so lame. where
which
he's
which goes back to why I think they were like they let Paul Rudd be Paul Rudd, and then they didn't use any of it.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that guy is a tested.
Paul Rudd is legit funny.
Yes.
and
Always.
and I think he's a great addition to this movie, and I hope one day they use him.
He should have been in way more scenes in this movie.
Absolutely.
They
This
disappear.
is
The
definitely-
parents disappear.
This is definitely
Actually, a lot of characters disappear. Were they filming Stranger Things?
They
at
must
the same
have-
time?
oh,
they must
Because
have been.
Finn Wolfhard just disappeared with no
And
explanation.
like half of his scenes are him by himself.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's him and
Well,
Slimer.
Well,
Yeah.
talk about this. This movie is like, Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace, who is good. I like her stuff with Dan Aykroyd. They should have been the main ones that you saw. But they're like, hey, you're too young. You can't be a Ghostbuster. But Phil Wolfhard can be. But let's not show him for half the movie. It's like, why didn't they do that to the character Finn? You can't for some reason be a Ghostbuster. Oh, he's not in the movie anymore.
But it is
Like,
it is
what?
definitely Phoebe's movie. Like this is she's the center character, and they did it again. They did it again where it's like, just pull the fucking trigger, will ya? Like they are definitely the ghost who I thought was Chloe Grace Moritz for a long
I
time.
thought she looked just like Jenna Ortega, but I'm like, that doesn't sound like
But
Jenna
she's
Ortega.
you know who she is. She's in Doctor Sleep. She's the one like she's the one that we see Rebecca Ferguson recruit. The gal from like the movie theater who was
Okay.
like she's always like she was killing pedophiles.
Oh, okay.
That's who that is.
She was in a movie with Jenna Ortega, which I thought was a funny
really?
coincidence. A babysitter or something. You would have probably known.
That's the one with Samara Weaving?
Yes, Samara Weaving, Jenna Ortega, and
Is she the
ghost in this movie.
Jenna Ortega's in the babysitter?
It said when I look, Emily Allen Lind plays Melody, the ghost that has this romantic kind of
They're
like
absolutely
they're trying
into
to say
each other.
Phoebe
Like,
is
just
gay.
fucking
They're
do
not,
it.
But I
Like-
think this movie has so much backlash from the bad fans, which I'm not saying means they shouldn't.
I hear
but
you.
with the female
Yeah.
Ghostbuster and
But
the
then don't
toxic
do it.
fans.
Then don't do it.
Let
Right,
them be
right,
friends
right.
or let it
Either
be.
do it or don't.
And
but
you wonder if maybe they did and they cut it.
They
Yeah.
did. They there's
That's the
that
thing.
scene when she's a spirit.
let's
and
just
they,
get into the movie.
Yes, sorry. We are not that far removed from the first Ghostbusters. We've got this new team of Ghostbusters. Just to touch on that real quick, if they're not going to pull the trigger on the McKenna Grace thing, pull the trigger on Carrie Coon and Paul Rudd. Like they have these interactions where it's definitely alluded that they're a couple, but they don't like. There's no loving embraces. There's no like. They just went through some like maybe
But
you
they're
want to
totally a couple.
you want to smooch a little
I mean,
bit.
he wouldn't be trying to position himself as the
The
stepdad
dad,
if they
yeah.
weren't a
which
couple.
which
but,
was fine, but it just seemed like I don't know
but
if
they don't.
they weren't clicking
Seem like a couple
at all.
Like, yeah, I will.
At all.
I will grant you that.
So they're busting ghosts. Like that's what they're doing now. The
The Spanglers are the new Ghostbusters team.
Yes.
And which is fine. So the movie should have been about the Spanglers,
Yes.
the Ghostbusters being the Ghostbusters, and not half the movie about the old Ghostbusters trying to be, and the new Ernie Hudson team being Ghostbusters. It's like, this team was great. The dynamic from Afterlife, and they could have had a lot of fun with them, the family, going around and doing this thing.
yeah,
And putting together a new team.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Why did they do
it.
it? They set it up so that they could be like, yeah, but these Ghostbusters over here.
our team are chasing down the Jersey Turnpike sewer ghost or something, and McKenna Grace has. I envision like this is who Egon was when he was younger, right? Just the kind of headstrong. I'm smarter than everybody in the room.
The Hell's Kitchen sewer dragon.
There we go. Thank you. So they're chasing this ghost, and she, kicks out of the suicide door. And I do like, we talk about the comedy, and I do like this interaction between everybody in the car, where it's like it's hot in here, the air conditioning's not working, and now the window's not working, and McKenna Grace kicks the door open, and they're all freaking out that she's riding in the suicide
This is
seat.
dumb. This is dumb. What is the point of having her hair there with a proton pack, with a car that does cool stuff that you can go out the side, if she's not planning on doing it? They're like, you can't do that. That's dangerous. It's like she's sitting in the gunner seat with the proton
If they
pack.
didn't want her to do that, they
How
should have
else
had
do
her
you
sit-
catch the
yeah.
ghost? That's the
Right.
chair. That's the part that gets out and catches
See,
the ghost.
well, they have a lot of other tools to catch a ghost. They've got the drone. They've got the thing that drops out from the bottom. I took it as just traffic was too tight. and
That's what I took
She
it
couldn't.
as.
She couldn't open the door.
Right. They do that when
Eventually,
when they
yeah,
catch
they-
the ghost, and
yeah.
she gets,
but
she
they don't
gets
want her
back-
to open the
Right.
door.
Well, yeah, because traffic.
Because traffic is too tight. I would
It's
say
not
that was
about-
my
it's not about
interpretation
having-
is
it's- 'cause
it wasn't about you can't do it because you're young.
Okay.
It was
Don't do that. You're going to get taken out by a
traffic
car.
is too tight.
Gotcha,
We're
okay.
in Manhattan, and that was the least
I
amount
thought
of
they
traffic
were-
I've ever seen in Manhattan.
Yeah, I thought they were babying her, and I'm like, well, she's a
I didn't-
Ghostbuster with a proton pack. Like, let her use the
No,
door.
I think
Okay,
I think I
got
agree
it.
with Tom. I think they were like the traffic
Okay.
is awful. Don't do
This
I'm like-
is not the appropriate situation
Gotcha,
to use
okay.
that particular
Which is
mechanism.
weird. Okay, so they drive around New York all the time.
right.
When else are you going to do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
They rebuilt that car in Oklahoma, where you could do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Oh, it didn't do that before?
No, didn't
Ghostbusters always have a gun or
No.
something?
No,
I don't
they
think
made
so.
that up for the last
That
movie.
was an afterlife thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They
What-
did
for
that so they could sell new toys.
Yes.
What? Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the Turtles. I was thinking that there was always a
No.
door that kicked open, but I guess I'm thinking of the Turtle Mobile.
No, because
that had something like that.
the old Ecto 1, I mean, it just had like the only cool thing that it had was that where you would put the casket, they would pull that out, and that's where the proton
Okay,
packs were.
okay, fair enough.
So of course, they destroy they catch the monster, but they destroy parts of the proton packs are taking out parts of the building.
If they're see, this is the thing is like this movie, like we're talking about like during Love Lies Bleeding. If you're not liking a movie, you start asking all sorts of questions. So I'm finally asking after 4 Ghostbusters movies, how come the ghosts are monsters? Why aren't they all people?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
And again, harkens back to the cartoon where they weren't people ghosts for the most part. They were
Yeah.
kooky creature ghosts that they can make toys for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, because the spirits are like demon. I mean, there's a lot of demons that are
Yeah, but even
possessing people too. So it's not really like
I think of that scene in the second Ghostbusters when they're like, the Titanic just showed up, and it's all of like ghostly people, like kind of like the Disney ride. Haunted Mansion, like walking off of and they would look kind of like gnarly and waterlogged or whatever. But
and Cheech is there for no reason.
he's there for a reason. Like they paid him. Like,
Well, but he was there to be like, "Is that the Titanic?" That's it. So it's like, okay.
Ron Jeremy's in the first one.
where?
He's an extra. He's in the he's in the crowd scene towards the end as they're saving the day. Like I think you can maybe only see him on the widescreen version. But
Okay.
like he's standing behind one of the barricades. But
That's
Ron
hilarious.
Jeremy is in the first
That's
Ghostbusters.
but this is Cheech, a very famous comedian at the time, in a speaking role. For
Ron
one.
Jeremy's pretty famous.
Ron Jeremy is pretty famous to some people. Just saying.
I think a cameo is different than I question. They got Cheech to come and say one line
Yeah.
in the movie was kind of weird, but
So they go back to the mayor's office, and of course it's not going to be Lenny. Lenny, I'm sure, is long dead at this point, but it's William Atherton.
Well, I also don't think he would be mayor for 40 consecutive years.
Maybe
Yeah.
if he does a good job. I don't know. We've had mayors in this city that were mayors for way too long. It shouldn't have been. But it's William Atherton and I don't remember his character's name.
Walter Peck.
Walter Peck, which again is one of the
Dickless.
which is I thought was a great line in this one where they're at the end of the movie and everybody's like, "Yeah, Ghostbusters," and you hear somebody in the background go, "Yeah, cheer for him, Dickless."
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah,
I
there's-
thought I
there's-
heard that, but the crowd knows. But it also, like, why would somebody in the crowd know that?
Well, I think
it was
it's-
a private conversation held in the mayor's office 42 years ago.
Well, and
Maybe
that,
it passed down as legend.
yeah, like
that
it's just
well,
total
so
fan service.
That's exactly. But I also think it's like you could say it's somebody in the crowd just calling him Dickless. But that's the problem I had with this movie.
Yeah.
I don't mind fan service when it's done right.
Yeah.
Like Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be fan service central.
But that's what that movie is.
That's
right?
my point.
The character is
Yes,
zany and
that's
meta.
supposed to be
very
that
tongue
way.
in cheek. Okay, Spider-Man,
Oh, sure.
like Norway Home.
Yeah.
right. That's the one that like that fan service was off the charts. Great,
And it's written into the story.
But it's
Right.
but
But
it's
it
the
worked.
plot.
It's the
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
It's the point
this
of the
is
movie.
this is like when they're walking through the new Ghostbusters headquarters and the one girl is in the background using the gun from Ghostbusters 2. I'm just like, why? Why would they be using the goop from Ghostbusters
they
2?
still use the same phone from Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, would
I had to laugh too when I saw the.
Would
I
that
almost
even
thought, I
still
almost thought they were going to make
work?
a joke about that.
Isn't like,
Yeah.
do they still have traditional analog landlines in New York? Isn't
oh,
everything
still
VoIP?
landlines.
There's still landlines,
But hasn't
it's-
everything flipped to VoIP? Would it work?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I know where I work, they had to pull out all the phones because we switched from landlines to VoIP. So I still have what physically would perceptually look like a landline,
Right.
But the old phones wouldn't work, and I had to get new phones. So
Huh.
I'm like,
The rotary phone.
I mean, my grandma has a landline. I'm sure that they still have landlines there.
Well, for a business, that just seems.
You know, I do wonder.
But
though,
it's an old
since it's a firehouse.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You
I
know?
wonder
But
if
you're
they,
right,
as kind of like in case this doesn't work, we've got this backup.
Yeah.
You know, maybe. But that was my biggest problem with this movie.
But it's the Easter egg, the
we're all
movie
the
again.
Easter-
It's like
Yeah.
it's like when we
Well-
talk about Mario, where it's like it's
Yeah.
just cramming Easter egg after Easter egg. Fan service, when done organically, is fine. You love to see it when it's not hitting you over the head. But when a whole movie is made,
The Harold Ramis ghost in the last one was great.
Yes.
Total fan service, but like you got.
but
Yes.
it's part of the story,
The
and
worst
that's
one.
the difference.
The worst one in this one for me was the library ghost.
I thought the same.
Oh yeah,
It might as
please.
well just turn to the camera and wink. Like,
Yeah.
huh?
Not only the library ghost, but then the guy who runs the library.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like all that.
Hey,
whole
remember me?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
should be retired
That
by
was
now.
horrible. Okay, first of all, I don't remember that guy, and I couldn't tell you who that was, and I don't remember him in the second one.
he's
But-
not. He's in the first one.
okay, but I knew that because he stopped and they winked at the camera.
It
And
might
I'm
as
like,
well have been a neon sign over and said,
yeah, so
remember
it's
me
like
from first
yeah,
movie.
that kind of thing is like, oh come on.
Yeah. So
Make him a part of the plot where something funny happens in the library and he's like quiet. You know what I mean? Like, don't walk up and be like, "Hey, you guys,"
or
blah,
even
blah, blah.
or even have him say, "Oh no, not again."
right,
And then,
but like
walk,
part
you
of the
know.
action, but not when they're walking in. And he's like, "Hey,
Yeah,
remember
but the
me?"
fact that they did the library ghost like scene for scene from the
Yeah.
first movie, it's
Yeah.
like, come on, man.
Well, and this this is the thing I think that hurts this movie is it's written by Jason Reitman and Gail Kennan,
Right.
and directed by Gail Kennan,
Who wrote the
Gil
first movie?
Kennan, yeah.
Right?
Who wrote it? Right, he wrote it with him.
Yeah.
And I think that writing, but he's not as strong of a director as Jason Reitman.
No, and does Jason Reitman? I also understand from Jason Reitman's point of view. Is like, I don't want to.
He doesn't want to be tied up with all these. He did Afterlife. He set it up wonderfully.
Yes. Yes.
Great memory for his dad, and like he set it up, but I just don't think Gil has. I mean, I like the guy. I've met him. He's nice. He's directed Monster House, is a good kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
City of Ember. He remade Poltergeist in 2015,
Which is not a good
which got
movie.
a very bad reviews.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people are like, why did they pick him to direct this?
I mean, I think it's the
He directed an '80s ghost movie.
that or he wrote
but he
the
wrote
original
the successful
Yeah.
reboot, and I mean, I get it, and he earned his chance, but he's just not as good as Jason Reitman, unfortunately. And
Yeah, also the script's not very good.
yeah.
Like, and
Well, they wrote it, which is weird. The two of them wrote both of them.
Look, man,
which I can't really explain.
there are people who are writers who work in when they're writing, right? Like, so when he wrote this in what 84?
Who? Aykroyd?
No,
And
the
Ramis?
first one.
Aykroyd and Ramis wrote the first one, right?
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Reitman didn't write it.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay,
he
okay.
just
He directed it.
Okay, yes, right. But so we'll take Aykroyd for example,
Yeah.
right? He has the comedy stylings of somebody from the late 70s, early 80s. Now, I think it's insanely hard to take that same style and transfer it to 2024 because comedy is different, and I don't know that version of comedy would work in 2024, right? So, and I think this guy's kind of in the same boat.
Because everybody's woke.
That's I gotta tell you though, you're not totally wrong.
Yeah.
Do you
Like,
hear
there
now
is-
people online are complaining that Sydney Sweeney was forced to do a woke nun movie? You know, the one she produced and got made because she wanted to do it? Apparently, Hollywood forced her into because she was being adopted by the anti-woke crowd and they had to put her in her place. That's the theory now.
So they made this movie in the 3 weeks after that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I like? I just read an interview with her where she said they were talking about
We talked about this.
Madam Web and how she was like, I have my foot in the door at Sony.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking brilliant.
I told Tom that she's going to be the next Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, obviously both two beautiful, talented people, but not just good looks. Margot Robbie is a producer. She's
very
produced
smart.
Barbie.
I don't think Sydney Sweeney, from what I've seen thus far, has the acting chops of
Does
Margot
not.
Robbie.
No.
But she's got the star
but
power.
she's got the star power and the business
and the
acumen.
business
Right.
sense, right? And so
Right.
she's like, you know what? Madam Web was a job. I did my job, and I got connections to make that other movie that
And
made tons
nobody's
of money.
gonna blame her for Madam Web.
Oh.
they
tanking.
can't because she's in it for all of like 10 minutes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like nobody was like, this is the new Sydney Sweeney movie.
Right.
No.
So it doesn't matter if
It was kind of weird that they didn't market it that way.
I think
'Cause she has nothing
I
to
think
do
if
with
it had
it.
came out 4 weeks later, they would have.
Oh. because her star kind of took off.
Yeah,
right?
like I think they had kind of already locked in their marketing plan.
Well, she had that rom-com was really hot.
yeah,
at
but
the
it
time.
but like it was a slow burn.
Oh, well,
Like
yeah.
it was fun. It was good. I
didn't-
watched it.
Yeah, it was solid,
Yeah.
but it didn't come out and make $100 million opening weekend.
Yeah, it's been doing it
It just kept
slowly over
making
the past
$10
few
million
months.
a week.
Pulled
yeah.
up My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I actually bought it new for $23. I didn't usually
really?
do that.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was
but
very funny.
Yeah, it was good.
They are that you can't put those two people in a movie anymore. Like they are both too good looking.
I think they just filmed one together.
Did they
and
really?
I think
Oh,
they
that's
filmed
really
one
funny.
like simultaneously.
It's like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Like that's,
Oh yeah, no,
that's
I
too
mean, I
pretty.
think that's the plan. Is that they're not going to
Oh.
make sequels, but they're going to make spiritual sequels.
Yeah.
They're gonna do the,
and they're going to keep pairing them up.
road
like,
movies. Like,
Well, who was it? Was
like
it?
Hepburn and Tracy.
But it was-
I mean, I'm going to get struck down for comparing those two to Hepburn and Tracy.
But it's the
How
same
about,
model.
How about Runaway Bride?
yeah,
Well, what's
Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan
and Sandler and Drew Barrymore?
yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
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 But yeah, I'm pretty sure they worked on something like right after or simultaneously or whatever. So they're gonna have.
Was it
another-
McConaughey and Kate Hudson? Did they do a
Yeah,
bunch
they
of stuff
did a
together?
couple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
More than one?
I think they did.
I think so.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So William Atherton's like, I'm finally I can take down the Ghostbusters. It's like, bro, that is a grudge, my friend.
40-year-old.
40-year-old, yeah. The
and
guy
who knew that being a middle manager at the EPA
parlay.
was a rocket ship to becoming mayor
Well,
of New York?
It has been 40 years, and we all know people like Walter Peck who just
Fail upwards.
suck until they get to where they need to get,
Here's the thing: he's not wrong.
He's also not wrong.
All of his
not
complaints
wrong.
about a 15-year-old girl shooting a proton pack through and
His
carrying up
complaints in the
was
first one aren't wrong.
Yeah, it was 100%
true. Yeah.
correct.
Right.
Well, in the first one, he looked at him as they're a con artist. He thought
Yeah.
they were making it up.
But
So in
he's
that
also
case, he was
like,
wrong.
this stuff isn't safe. If what you're doing is true, we don't know that any of this is safe.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
Like,
also funny that right, because in the first one he goes into the firehouse and he
shuts it all down.
and then that sets everything off. It's
Yeah.
like, but you saw it, and now it's happening again.
Yeah.
Which
Was he in the second movie? I can't even remember.
I'm sure he must.
I
have
don't
had
I don't think he was. in the
I
second
honestly
one.
don't remember.
Because it's some other guy that's trying to shut him down.
You think they really? Oh, maybe.
But they were already shut down at the beginning of the second one.
Yeah.
It was fallout from the Marshmallow Man disaster. They got
Well,
sued for
no, but
messing up the city.
but when stuff happens again, they're like back, and then there's another guy that's trying to.
Man, I
Is
don't
that
even-
right?
I don't even remember. I haven't watched it
he
so
is
long.
he is Vigo. That's what I remember from
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah, the Ghostbusters come back and start doing commercials and stuff, and there's a guy in the wings working for the mayor's office
Oh,
that's
okay.
like trying. He's an actor you'd know, a character actor. I just don't know what his
That
name
is one of
but-
the things that I thought was, we talk about fan service, that I thought was brilliant in this movie is the fact that they take all of the marketing from Ghostbusters and they play it in this as like the Ghostbusters parlayed their fame or whatever into the toys and the cereals.
But they
Yeah.
kind of do that
Okay.
in two, don't they?
No, I thought it was the
They
reverse.
do with the music video and the commercials, but they don't with toys. And I do
Oh,
like that
okay.
at this point
Yeah.
it's toys and cereal, the real stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
this
like
mov-
that a lot.
This movie made clear that the second movie's canon because they showed the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
They should,
But
yeah.
it wasn't in the second movie the idea that they were all washed up because everybody blamed him for ruining the city covered with marshmallow goo.
So
something
that's
like
the
that.
thing about
And-
the second
and-
movie. I think is stupid because they shouldn't have.
Right.
Why couldn't they have just been
And they
Ghostbusters?
were reduced to
their
doing
thing?
children's parties and stuff like that. If I remember
Yes,
right.
that
So
is
then
a-
that makes me wonder where all the marketing. At what point in time, in this movie
post-
they show the
post two?
cereal and the. Is
I
that
would-
what you
I would think it-
I would guess
okay,
post
then-
two,
then
the
that
stuff
makes-
we didn't
then
see.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay,
Because they walked the Statue of Liberty using a Nintendo
Yeah,
controller.
they were heroes again.
sure. Okay.
So the Atherton's like, you're out, and then none of the everybody kind of is in agreement.
He
'cause they're
basically
like,
says like Phoebe's too young.
she's 15.
to
We're
be
not
a
even
ghost.
we're not even paying her. He's like, so now we've got child labor laws to worry
That
about.
was
That
kind of
doesn't
funny.
make any sense either because it's not labor. She's not. If they're not paying.
Not paying her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's working. That's
But
slave
you can't.
labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be like, that's human
Is
trafficking.
it slave labor when you tell your kids to take the trash out?
I was gonna say it's a chore.
Yeah.
But
Busting ghosts is a chore.
But
But I
guess in
think
this
it's
one-
slave labor if you own a restaurant and make them wait tables.
Yeah.
well, good point.
Maybe.
If it's a money making operation,
Here's your
they-
allowance.
Yeah.
So I did like that part though, where Paul Rudd's like, "I got this," and he goes and makes it worse, and she's like, "I think you need to come back here."
But also, I do also like. So overall, I said, I did enjoy this movie. I had a good time watching it.
I want an old-timey Ghostbusters prequel because when they went to 1902 Firehouse or whatever, like the movie opens with what will be like the impetus of this movie is that there's this crazy demon creature trapped in this orb that these like the fire wielding people,
firewalkers or whatever,
could control, and they trapped him in this orb. And so you see it in like the old timey, they're out of the firehouse, there's like the old fire wagon.
It would be fun to see
that.
like an old west, wild west Ghostbusters,
but
not Wild West with
but they were just firefighters. But I was like, are these going to be the first Ghostbusters?
I thought they were getting,
right.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be like an old timey Ghostbusters, like
Yeah.
before. And I thought that would be fun to watch.
That would be fun to watch. But like, I like the fact that Paul Rudd, in the first one, he's their teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're past that, and it's definitely, we've said before that he and Carrie Coon are a couple. Yeah. And
they moved to New York together.
I do like that he's trying to figure out, like, and he vocalizes it. He's not just being like, I don't know what I'm doing, and doesn't talk to anybody, but he talks to Carrie Coon. He's like, I don't know what the line is here.
Yeah.
And I like that idea where instead of having this fake conflict, again, we talked about it in Love Lies Bleeding, where rather than have this conflict that nobody talks about and have that be a plot point, they do that here too, where he's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, do I go too hard? Do I want to be their best friend? And she's like, do it.
And this is kind of a funny scene where he was like, I will be nice to you but mean to your kids.
Yeah, that was
like
She's like, yes, that's exactly what I want.
Every scene with Paul Rudd is funny. He's a funny guy. Put him in more of the movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I liked in those moments where she kind of snaps back, not snaps, but like quips back at him, and I was like, yes, like this is what the Ghostbusters was.
He's like, I'm gonna be nice to you and a dick to your kids.
She's like, and she goes, yeah, that's exactly what I want.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. McKenna Grace gets sidelined. Now what I thought was going to happen here, she goes to Central Park to play chess.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be Egon.
I thought it was too. Yeah,
And
I was glad they didn't.
I don't know.
He didn't.
Oh, no.
He passed on.
He already moved on.
He
Oh,
evaporated.
that's right, he
Remember, his
did.
business
You're right,
was closed
you're right,
out.
you're
If
right.
you brought him back, like, again, they used that trick. It pulled at your heartstrings.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
They can't keep doing it.
I
It's
disagree.
these knee-jerk responses.
This movie says that they can keep
they,
doing it.
they
they
keep
didn't.
doing lots of things they can't keep doing.
Yeah,
so.
but they didn't with that one. And
Right.
so I'm saying I'm glad they didn't, because that's unfinished. But so she goes and then she meets this ghost girl.
who I assume burned her family alive. Like
Wasn't that what they were hinting at?
That's
Like,
what I thought too.
She was playing with matches
and set her family
Also,
on fire.
I don't think she. I didn't take
she
it
didn't
as
do it on
purpose.
purpose.
No,
for the
yes,
ghost.
She
yes,
was
okay.
messing around, and then now it's her guilt of that happening is why she can't.
Yes,
pass
can't
on.
move. Can't
Did they
move on.
Did they say when this had happened?
No.
Because I thought they were trying to insinuate that this happened a long time ago, but as it goes, she looked like somebody who died like yesterday.
She said-
Agreed.
She looks like a modern.
I got the vibe that it was supposed to be a long time ago,
She's not dressed that way.
but she did not dress or
talk that
comport
way.
herself in
Yeah.
that
right.
manner.
Yeah. So she basically, they have this. They're playing chess together, and there's definitely some tension. Like McKenna Grace, who is still kind of Egon, always kind of did have that nerdy, like weird, standoffish kind of character, and she adopts that. She's got the same hair as Egon. It's all the same.
I think she's really good in both movies. I wish
She's
that
great.
they would have just given her
She's
more
actually,
focus.
I'd forgot. She's in this movie. I don't know if anybody ever talks about it. It's the movie that Chris Evans met Jenny Slate on, where McKenna Grace plays his niece, and she's like a genius, and Chris Evans is trying to keep her away from people figuring out that she's a genius. But anyway, she's
Is this the one where he
insane.
had superpowers?
No, like
Oh, that's Captain America.
No, another one,
no,
different
that's
one.
Push.
is what-
No,
is it? Oh.
but this is it's a cute little rom-com kind of movie. Rom-com dram, I guess that's kind of the way I would describe it. And she's in that, but she's a little girl in that, and she's great in that. Like, she's very, very good. It's interesting to see her in other interviews because she is not like,
she doesn't look like Egon.
she doesn't look like Egon at all. She's got like long blonde hair, and but she's
She's a good actor.
she is a good actor.
By the way, the first scene where they take off without her, they all get in the car,
Yeah.
like, and you have to stay behind. Something really weird, and my wife noticed it too, when she's standing watching upset because she watching her. There's somebody walking around in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the firehouse. And I was like, Who was that? What was
That's
that?
funny.
Another
It
ghost.
must have been an extra. It must have been
Janine?
like. It must have been.
Oh, I guess it could have been Janine.
No, it wouldn't have made any sense. Why
She's
would she have
another
been there?
one
It
where
was
it's
it
like-
was just some guy walking around back there. I think it was a crew member, and they left him in
That's funny. But take out Janine, take out Bill Murray. You know, you just don't need
the
these
Bill
characters.
Murray thing is. I think that's. I don't. The initial time we see Bill Murray, when Camille Njami's got the colander on his head. I don't mind that because like it gives Bill Murray a paycheck and he gets to sit down, do a little quippy stuff, and then he's out.
Right. But but they don't really move
They've
the
not
story.
made any advancement in that technology.
No.
in 40 years.
No,
It
you know
is-
why? Because you have to have nostalgia for the one
Right.
from the
It
first.
is interesting
That's
that they
what's so
don't
dumb.
bring back Rick Moranis.
He doesn't want to do it.
He doesn't want to do it
At all?
No.
Well, he was retired for years. His
Yeah,
wife died. He
yeah.
retired to raise his kids, and then now he says he's not retired, but he's very selective.
Yeah.
And
But I guess
so-
if he can be,
He's not taking paychecks.
isn't he doing?
Well,
a Honey I
he agreed to make a Honey I Shrunk the Kids sequel,
TV
but it's been,
TV show.
It's been stuck in production.
Oh.
But they were gonna do some sort of honey. It was just going to be called Shrunk.
No, is that
What?
really it?
Yeah, which sounds like the Broadway musical version of Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
By the way, I would argue that he's the funniest part of the first movie.
It is not
very
a.
funny.
It is not a far jump to
Yeah.
leap.
That was supposed to be John Candy.
Is that right?
Is that?
Yeah.
I did not know.
Wow, that would have been very different.
And he's funny in the second movie. Like he's good.
Oh yeah, I think Rick Moranis is underrated.
Yeah.
Like I think that guy because he's been gone for so long, people forget.
Yeah.
Like Strange Brew.
I grew up with watching
Strange
Rick
Brew.
Moranis.
Oh my
So good.
god,
No
Strange.
point in
so
staring
good.
now, eh?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's so funny.
I honestly,
I know it's not his line.
I
but-
put Strange Brew like up there with Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Like and because those two movies. Oh man, I could watch those movies all the time. So good. They're so good.
Steamroller.
Mr. Mom's great too.
Mr. Mom is
Megan, you're making me crazy. That's what you're making me.
So flash forward to Ray's Occult
Can we just talk about
Books.
Mr. Mom?
Oh yeah, we're raising
Kumail Nanjiani comes in and he's selling his grandma's
He is
old.
great.
Yeah.
He's the best part of this movie.
He's
I
the only
think.
guy
Who's
knows
telling jokes.
What movie he's
Yes,
in?
yes,
Yep.
yes.
He's
Thank you.
funny,
And a lot of complaints are like he seems like he's in a different movie. Yes,
Yeah,
he's in the good
he's in the
movie.
good
He's in the movie
version
it's
of this
supposed to be.
movie.
He is
Yes.
so funny.
You're-
He's so charismatic. He's so genuinely funny.
The Ghostbusters that I would like to see is Paul Rudd, Camille Nanjiani, McKenna Grace, and you could throw any of those guys. You know, Zach Efron. I mean, like any of those guys who have the comedic chops.
Yeah.
I know there was a period of time when they were going to reboot it, and it was going to be like
It was the-
Seth Rogen, Michael Cera,
Bill Hader.
Yeah, and I'm like,
The
that
Apatow
would have been
Ghostbusters.
great.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
would've been
it
funny.
absolutely would have been great. And I
Because
think
they would have told jokes.
well, here's
Yeah, they would have
Again,
riffed.
I don't want to
and-
bring this up again. The female-led one, they did exactly that. They
Yeah.
brought in female comedians. They told jokes.
but it was
Yeah,
just a bad
but
story.
although oddly enough, the funniest character was Chris Hemsworth,
Hemsworth,
That's
yeah.
which is kind of weird.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. You've got the
But that's
movie.
more an attest to his talents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I said it on our episode. I'm like, funniest part of that movie was Chris Hemsworth. His
Yep.
lines
Yeah.
killed
Every time.
and they were improv. He was quick. He's good.
yeah, he's very
But
funny.
yeah, because Paul Feig directs, and he knows how to work with.
He's coming off. What's the
Bridesmaids.
No, well, yes, but he had just done
had he done Heat?
the
Was
Heat.
that before
I think Heat was
I think
right
Heat
before.
is 2015. That sounds right.
Is
Like
that
right before.
And that movie's again.
Heat's very funny.
Bridesmaids
I
and
didn't see
Heat
that
are
one.
so good. Heat, I cannot recommend it enough. It's very
Really?
funny.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. So he comes in to sell his grandma's trinkets, and little does he know that his grandma was like a protector of these
She's a fire god.
walkers, and she has been tasked from generations down of handing down this orb that we had seen in the beginning. All
Yeah.
the old timey guys that were in the Collector Society, the Adventure Society, they had got their hands on this orb that had been protecting this demon from hundreds of years back. And so when she dies, he goes to hawk it for $50 to Ray. The first one he's like 30, and Ray's like, "Oh, this got something interesting." He's like 50. Like,
And he's
whatever,
like, look at them. He's like 60.
yeah,
Yeah.
very funny. But so he
but
sells it to him, and Ray uses PK meter, and the thing like explodes. This
Yeah.
thing is so off the charts with spiritual energy.
Yes.
I know you guys are too young to think about this, but what did that orb look like to you?
It looked like a typewriter ball for
Thank
electric
you.
typewriters. Yeah.
The whole time I kept waiting for it to spin and
Yeah.
type something out.
That's funny.
in whatever language
Yeah.
that was on the thing. Yes, thank you.
So then they put that away. McKenna Grace has this relationship with this ghost that is continuing on, and we find out that the ghost is working for the ghost inside the ball, And they have this
And that's
machine.
what's in a Wonder Ball.
That's in
You've
the-
been wondering
that's right,
what's
that's
in a
right.
Wonder
Wait,
Ball.
it's like a Pokemon.
It is like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's a bad Pokemon.
So we
Evil
should
Pokemon.
mention too that the spirit containment unit or whatever at the firehouse is full.
This
They're
is-
like, you've never emptied this, or
But
never.
this is a plot from the cartoon, right?
What?
Maybe.
thing
The
being full?
thing being full.
Well, it was getting
Maybe.
full in the first one.
Wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Is
'cause
there
you see it like struggling
Yes.
to keep up.
is there a scene in any? I can't remember. I feel it must have been the cartoon where they look in, like they had like a ViewMaster where they could look.
I think they could see him in the
Yeah, I
cartoon.
think
Is it
you're
the
right.
cartoon?
I think
right?
you're right.
Okay, which is what I was like. Just do it here. Like if you're gonna make the
See,
cartoon
Here's what I think would be a good plot point for the Ghostbusters sequels is that
going into the containment unit.
oh, that would be good.
Yeah,
But
like the
also,
Phantom Zone.
like
Yeah.
the idea of the containment unit is pretty cruel.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
Just letting them live
because they're stuck in this place. It's not even purgatory, if you believe in such a thing. Like these are ghosts that couldn't cross over, and you're locking them in a box. Metaphysically speaking, like
Right.
it's pretty mean.
That's
See,
an
that could have been a
interesting-
whole plot point. You
Yeah.
could have had a whole group of people saying,
Right.
like pro ghost,
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're let the
Right.
ghosts out." Yeah,
That would be a cool way to flip it on.
I gotta
its
tell
head.
you, in
Yeah.
2024, there would absolutely
Absolutely.
be pro ghosts. Get
Yeah.
them out. Let them
Yeah.
let them live their lives.
You've
Especially
locked
w-
up my loved ones.
Yes, thank
Right.
you. Yeah, my grandma's in there.
Yeah.
They played something at the beginning of this movie that was hilarious. It's who was the guy in Silicon Valley?
Oh,
Thomas
Thomas
Middleditch.
Yeah.
He is like, he's at his house and he sees the ghost of his wife for the first time, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I love you so much. Can I at least kiss you?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then 4 Ghostbusters bust in and bust her like in front of him, and he was like, "She wasn't bad." And the guy's like, "I realized as soon as I pulled the trigger that this was a bad idea." And then the guy's like daughter shows up. And she's like, "Daddy, I miss you. Please, like, don't." He's like, "I'll never let anything hurt you again." And then another Ghostbuster busts in and busts her.
That's pretty
and
good.
he was like, "Yeah, that wasn't a good idea. I should not have done that. Really sorry about that."
So we find out that Winston Zeddemore, Ernie Hudson's character, is aware of this, and he has been making a new containment center with his team of people that has been, trying to transfer all the ones from the old firehouse to there. And they say, if we do this nonstop, it's going to take years or whatever. Like, it's a huge ordeal, but they're already working on it.
Yeah.
And so they have the orb. Ray has given it to them, and they go to this new facility that they have and kind of show us a bunch of new ghosts.
I gotta tell you, that one, the shadow ghost, kind of creepy.
Yeah,
that was a creepy
Yeah.
ghost.
Which one's the shadow?
The one that was like the demon looking thing that was like in the darkness.
Oh, yeah,
that would
yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of
And
look like a Dementor.
Yeah, you got one that can possess any inanimate object. You have a little one that's like cute, but then he like barfs all this stuff on you. Just funny, new, which is fun. Like that's
Yeah.
the part I like is what creative ghosts can they come up with that you see. But so they're kind of setting up all these ghosts we're going to see later. But they're building up this new facility to contain the ghosts.
Yes, and this orb is there, and again we get the retread of the tiny Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. And
the minions.
the
See, they were
minions.
funny in the first one because
I
they were
didn't-
like
I
little
didn't think it was funny.
gremlins.
I liked them in the first
Oh.
one because it was a little touch of nostalgia, a little fan service, but then they were gone.
But
And it was also a tweak on fan service,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
instead of
yeah,
making
yeah.
them giant, they made them small.
Yeah.
Even though
but
it's a
they were
minion
little,
knockoff.
they were little mischievous, little funny goobers,
Right.
And in this one, they're just like, oh yeah, remember those guys? They're here.
Here they are.
Yeah, they came from Oklahoma all the way to here.
But there was no reason to have them except for like, remember they were funny and they sold Funko Pops. But
Yeah.
in this one, they're not doing the mischievous.
Well, they
stuff.
are, but
Except
they're
for
like
the mid credit scene.
yes,
Okay, but
Yeah.
throughout the film, you know what I mean?
They're all kind of locked up in this,
That's
aren't
that.
they?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're all kind of locked up.
But I know, but like
And somebody feeds them after midnight.
yeah, but who cares then? Like, just it was only funny because they were like running around doing goofy stuff,
Right,
you know?
right.
So I didn't think they played well.
like
at
the
all
one
in
that
this.
melts themselves.
Yeah,
It's just like
remember they're setting themselves on fire and they're jumping around. Like that was a great scene.
now that this orb is in with all these other ghosts, like the other ghosts are like want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Like this ghost is so bad it scares the
Well,
other.
and here's the
ghosts.
point. So only a human can unlock the orb. Let's just jump right to
Yes,
it. So
yeah.
the not Jenna Ortega ghost character is trying to use McKenna Grace so that she can be possessed. So they have this
Well,
moment.
no, they take. Yes, you're right. They have this machine.
No, but you're right.
but well, they have this. They have
just
this.
trying to
you're
get
right.
to it.
They have a machine where they can pull
Yeah.
a spirit out of this possessed object.
Yeah.
So McKenna Grace hops into this machine because she wants to make out with this ghost.
Yeah.
That's what the whole point of going into this machine is.
So she has 2 minutes in heaven.
Yes, that's right.
That's
Yeah, like what's the point of committing temporary suicide? If you're not going to kiss the ghost, you could stand there and just look at the ghost.
it was just really weird to be on the same plane, but for no reason.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I could even accept the fact that the Bernie ghost, not Bernie, like
the ghost
no,
of Bernie
not
Sanders.
that would have been great. Not that I want Bernie Sanders dead, just the fact that there could be a Bernie Sanders ghost, that would be very funny.
Well, eventually.
Yeah, that's true. I could see where that this ghost was setting up McKenna Grace the entire time, right? She's playing into her emotions. She knows that she's got her, and then as soon as McKenna Grace becomes a ghost, the bad ghost inhabits her body, right? So they don't get to kiss because that was never the plan to begin with. From bad ghost point of view,
Just
from
queer baiting her.
that's exactly it. Like that's kind of the way I took it. But there is a moment where this ghost says, "Do I have to do this to her?"
I
Like,
think
this
the
can-
ghost did like her.
I think so
Right?
too.
But
But
I think
there wasn't.
she just wanted to reunite with her family,
Yeah.
so she was willing to
yeah.
like,
do whatever.
do the bad thing.
And McKenna Grace was into this ghost, and she didn't have the opportunity to kiss her because she was already possessed.
Sure. So so the bad guy uses this possession to speak the words that can unlock the orb. And I guess we find this out because Patton Oswalt, he's in this movie at the library.
He's basically Ray 2.0.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he
That's exactly it.
says that only this is whatever language and whatever, so that's
It's like
his,
if he said ancient Sumerian, I was like, "Come on, man!" But he's like, "It's even older than Sumerian." I was like, "Okay." fine.
but that's so he says, there's this language, whatever. So she speaks the words, the orb unlocks, and then we get big demon horn, which I think is a really cool looking
it's a
creature.
good
I like
design.
it.
It's
I
a
like
very
this
I dig
movement because they tried to do the like stop motion type movement from the original stuff.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, that also was a puppet.
Awesome.
Some of
Yeah,
Oh.
it looked really cool.
It was very
good.
cool.
Yep.
And basically, this thing is death. Like it just freezes everything that it touches.
Although Ray says, didn't give a word for it. He goes, "It's the power to kill with fear."
Yes.
but it doesn't kill with fear. It just creates icicles. In fact, most of the people it seems to be injuring didn't even see it. All they
That's
see-
true. That's a good point.
Well, it's really scary because you're frozen, and so like you're preserved and you're awake, but like your senses are so slow. Maybe and then you're really scared.
But then they do a Terminator thing where the ghost, the freezy ghost, goes into a place that's called like the Fire Master vape shop. And he's like, "Are you the Fire Master?" And he's like, "Yeah, look at the
that was
sign."
a funny joke
was
that
funny.
the smoke shop was called Fire Master. Are you the Fire Master?
Well, but it is kind of
a good joke.
it's a retread of the joke in the first one.
Yeah.
Like,
The
are you
key
the
master.
key master? I am the gatekeeper.
I
Whatever.
thought that was good though. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm the fireman."
But they can't the proton packs don't work against this thing, so they realize that Camille Nujani's grandmother had an entire back room that was just laced in brass.
And those jokes were very funny about the whole thing where he's like, "These these whips and
Oh,
chains
it's
are
a
like
sex dungeon.
Please stop talking about my
If this was a
grandmother
sex dungeon, why would these be there?" And that's exactly what would be in a sex.
Yeah,
that was
they
all.
had handcuffs and chains in here.
Yeah.
Why else would they be here?
That was a very funny interaction.
So they realize that McKenna Grace, again being the smartest one in the room, the proton packs run off this certain thing, but they have to she has to take like parts of the reactor
It's
and
brass.
Copper, it needs to be copper or
Needs a
brass.
copper or brass.
right, and so she takes
And copper's
pieces.
really expensive right now, so
It's
Well,
true.
they say
they
every
actually
time
make that-
copper's been stolen.
Yeah.
Although I found that funny because I'm like so apparently it was deserted.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
So, but then the containment unit was still down there working all this time.
the whole time.
Yes.
The whole
Nobody
time,
wanted to mess
crackheads
with
were
it.
going in there and
Yeah.
stripping it. They left the containment unit alone.
Yeah, right.
But Ernie Hudson bought it and cleaned it up, right?
I think
Yeah.
he kept it like running.
But just enough. You see, they were still struggling there at the beginning.
Yeah,
He was
that's
just
true.
like, I'm not going to pay for
we'll buy
everything.
this property, but you
Right.
teach them a lesson.
I kind of like that though.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. The entire time, Finn Wolfhard's like, I'm 18. I'm an adult. And they're having like a leak. And Carrie Coon's like, yeah, you're 18, so fix it. And she's like, kid's like, cool, I have to put my hands in black mold. That's great. I love that idea. So McKenna Grace takes apart her proton pack and she dips like pieces of it into melted down brass.
She cut off.
Cut the fire pole.
She cut
fire
the fire
pole.
pole, which magically reappeared. By the way,
yeah.
In fact, and all of a sudden there was two fire poles.
I
Yeah.
did notice that there were two. I thought that was
and
interesting.
I'm like, I thought she cut that thing down, and now there's two. Maybe they're magic. I don't know.
They're ghost fire poles.
Yeah.
So
That's why she liked to slide down it.
hey, Maybe she's 15. Don't make those jokes.
The ghost was 16, so I guess that's still within.
That's true. I guess that's
right?
all right. No,
Statute of ghost limitations.
Statute of ghost limitations. So the ghost ends up. He wants to take out Camille and Johnny, and they go to the firehouse, and all the Ghostbusters are there. All of the Ghostbusters are there, and McKenna Grace shows up. She's the last standing Ghostbuster, and she hits this ghost with the new proton pack that's got the brass laced thing, and it stops it.
On sale now at Walmart.
That's exactly yes. We run a
And
build.
this whole time he's trying to learn the fire bending.
Yeah, he
I
could-
thought it
thing.
didn't really stop him, and then Kumail had to use his fire.
No, it stopped
So it stopped
him,
them, and then he had to use the
but she was running out of juice, and then
it shorted out.
But I do like that he's just like he can't figure out how to make the fire move,
Yeah.
and he just like makes it move a little bit. And he's like, "I did
and
it!"
he's like, watch this, and he's doing it with the candle. It's like, yeah.
I like that Paul Rudd's even like, "Okay, like
Yeah.
that's what we've got. All right." So yeah, Chameleon Johnny shows up wearing the whole like
It was very funny that
Firewalker
he picked out the whole
Fire
outfit
Master
and
garb.
put it on.
And these two end up fighting together and fight off the ghost. They realize that they don't have a trap strong enough. But then have they always said that the containment unit is a giant trap?
I mean, why wouldn't it be?
What-
They said that actually wouldn't. They showed the blueprint for it. They said it was a giant trap.
Oh,
said,
okay,
They said
okay.
Egon designed it as a giant trap.
Okay.
I mean, I figured the traps work on the same premise, and it's just a portable
That's fair.
unit to move them
from point A
to
to point
contain
B.
them, and then put them in a larger storage
That's
device.
fair. We should also say that the containment unit gets cracked open because the deal is this Freezy ghost is going to basically corrupt all of these other ghosts and make them work for it. So we get shot for shot retread of the first movie when William Atherton turns off the containment unit and the big beam in the sky shoots out and
Sky beam.
I
love it.
Yeah, thought we had seen our last
Thought we
sky
were over
beam,
that,
but
yeah.
apparently not. Where all the ghosts are like flying. It's the exact same thing. I think they may have even used the same musical cue, which is a great cue in the first movie.
Yeah.
They didn't use the rap from the second one.
They didn't. Thank God.
Well, because the rap references Vigo. Found out about Vigo, the master. Of
Oh,
evil.
it is,
Tried
isn't
to
it?
battle my boys. That's not legal.
They can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby Brown sang that in concert.
No, he
The other
did.
day. Yeah.
Wow.
He had a solo show and he sang that one.
That's man.
I think
hilarious.
that did really well, didn't it? Like
I think it was
top the
a
charts
yeah,
for a while.
I don't know if it was number one, but it
did
definitely got
it's
played on the
no
radio.
Ray
a lot.
Parker Jr.
Yeah, I was like,
numbers,
no
let's
Ray
put it
Parker
that way.
Jr.
Yes,
numbers.
but what is? I want a new
I
drug.
want a new drug.
I want a new drug.
That's at the Draft House. They talked about how they got sued like constantly for that song. It was with Huey Lewis. and
Huey
then
Lewis student because it's a
Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, really? I didn't know
I
that
think
one.
it was a
about
joke.
that one.
They were talking about how
But yeah, but Ray Parker Jr. got sued by Huey Lewis because it's a retread.
does sound,
I want a new drug.
Yeah.
And then and so he had to pay him a bunch of money, and then eventually Huey Lewis had to pay it all back.
Yep.
Because there was a
was an NDA, right?
There was a non-disclosure agreement as part of the settlement that they wouldn't discuss it, and he, like 30 years later, discussed it on the Behind the
way.
Music,
No.
and that negated the terms, and he had to pay it all.
Oh
back.
my gosh, that's
Yep.
crazy.
Wah,
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? He enjoyed the money for 30 years. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he's all
he
right.
got his use out of it.
that is one concert that I regret not seeing. Like Huey Lewis in the News was one of my favorite bands of all time. Like
That's
even
the
when I was
power of
that's
love.
so great. Like all that stuff, but I never saw him.
I saw him
in
at
concert.
Mississippi Nights,
Yeah,
right in between Sports and 4.
that's where you want to see him.
And it was right before 4 came out, and they were like an arena act at that point.
Oh yeah,
And they played Mississippi Nights under a fake name.
Oh, wow.
And like it kind of leaked out that like there's a band playing Mississippi Nights, and the name was Sports Section. And so we were like, we bought tickets even though they wouldn't confirm it, and then we went, and like sure enough,
Sure
it was
enough,
Huey
that's
Lewis.
awesome.
Oh,
Just
man.
wanted to play some clubs,
And now he doesn't play anymore because he's
got-
going
he
lost his
deaf,
hearing,
right?
He just lost his hearing.
Yeah, which sucks.
He was supposed to play. We've got a little amphitheater in Alton, and he was like the big act for that summer. And then like a month before,
yeah,
they're
it was like 6 weeks before.
yeah, 6 weeks before. They're like, nope.
Dang.
Melody turns on Garaka, realizing she did not
Yeah,
intend to honor the deal.
Baraka Khan?
That's- I thought about you immediately when I heard
How
that
did she
name.
restrain him? I don't
She
remember
gave
this
she
part.
gave McKenna Grace the match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she
For the fire.
I thought she lit
Oh,
it
maybe she
herself.
lights it, and
She
then
somehow magically
Camille
lit it
Nanjiani.
I thought that
like,
was a nice
takes it.
payoff to the match thing.
It
It's
was,
weird that
yeah.
ghost matches work like
Well,
normal
Well,
matches.
but it
think
was a
it's-
real. It was a
was
real
a real
book of
match.
matches that somehow she was able to hold on.
The
to.
Book of Matches
Okay.
was the thing that she was possessing.
But there was something magical about it because you see her take it out and try to just light it, and it didn't work. She closed the book cover, and
there
that
was another
match was
match.
back.
Okay, interesting.
That's true.
Yeah, because
That's a
I
good
remember
point.
in the beginning when she shows at the chess bench,
Right.
and it's a ghost match book, like it's in her ghost form.
I don't know.
By the way, there was one scene with her that we kind of skipped over real quick that I thought was kind of interesting, where she was in a diner. Was that it? And
Yeah.
they get called, and then so now you've got Phoebe's like, oh, I'm here to
bust
bust
ghosts.
you, and oh gosh, this is the
Ghost.
Oh.
this
And
is
even
the ghost
Pod-
I've got a crush on, and then she kind of paused, and then fired at her anyway.
Yeah.
And a
So
podcast is like,
destroys-
shoot her, shoot her, shoot her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
right.
destroys the diner.
Well, to me, that's the part where maybe Flame Ghost, whatever her name is, was like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to do this, then I might as well sell you out to.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, that would have made an for
That would have been
interesting
interesting
plot
motivation of
development.
like, oh, well, if you're going to bust ghosts, then
I think Human Torch was her name.
It was Melody. Was her name?
Melody, okay.
But even going back past that, where McKenna Grace is like, look, if I wanted to, I'm really good at this. Like,
Yeah,
if I wanted to,
bust
I
you.
would have. And she was like, okay, fine. So yeah,
The city thaws.
everybody wins. The William Atherton shows back up.
No,
and-
Garaka does not win.
That's true. He gets
So
busted.
just
But,
we have to be clear.
okay. So yeah, we get
Sort of what he freed all those ghosts.
That's what I'm
They're still
saying,
out.
though. And it's just like the first one, where
Yeah.
the beam is set off in the sky. All these ghosts get loose, but
The juice is loose?
The juice is loose. I do not want to see that movie.
I do. I can't wait.
I cannot.
I'm so excited.
I can wait as long as
I
humanly
can't.
possible.
Well,
Did they show that trailer before?
They did it for me.
I didn't.
We didn't
notice
get
it.
trailers because it did a thing where the movie didn't start on time,
God.
and then it was like we waited like 20 minutes. I kept
And
going,
this is why people don't go to the theaters.
Yes.
I love going to the theater when it works well and the people behave. Alamo's a great example of this.
Yeah.
But the big chains, AMC, are so crappy about people on their phones all the time. The movie doesn't start. The projection's bad. It's like, and the prices are just as expensive as.
Yep.
I went out and said, hey, it's been 15 or 10, 15 minutes. And they're like, okay, we'll get it going. And then it started playing at the point, like already 15 minutes into the movie. It was a scene with Finn Wolfhard,
jeez.
and I was
That's
like, I went
terrible.
back.
To go restart
So I had
it?
to go back out. I was like, hey, you got to start that over from the beginning. And he goes, oh shoot, and he goes and runs off. And
It's a mess.
it was a big mess.
these-
Well, hey, you know what? I guarantee you, there's some projectionist that's at the theater right now, gritting his teeth every time this happens because they don't have projectionists.
Yeah,
It's just-
right.
It's just a button.
It's a button.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
all programmed on timers and stuff.
Yeah,
So
it's-
I went to Alamo to see this because, especially after the last one, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm
Totally
not going
worth
to
it.
AMC anymore. I just can't do it.
It is heads and shoulders.
It is. It's the best.
the best experience.
Best in town, for
yeah,
sure.
it's because
I
they
just don't want to
care.
drive that far.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's
Which is why, like, sometimes I wouldn't do it, but then I regret it every time. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm driving that far and spending a little more on popcorn because I just have a terrible experience at AMC.
But do you spend a little because it's endless?
Oh, I spend a lot more. Yeah.
But you
well,
get a-
I have
you get
$5 endless popcorn, or I have $10 plus $6 tip popcorn.
That's fair.
It's
Okay.
15 versus
Okay.
5. It's a lot more, and it's a little further away, but it's worth it.
If you get like 3 bowls of popcorn,
Yeah, but I get 3 bowls for $5 at the other place.
but these are bigger.
It's endless. I'm just saying.
And I got
This goes to 11.
Wait, yeah, that's right. Does AMC have churro popcorn?
They don't.
There we go.
No, my point is,
they've got flavored popcorn.
Oh, do they?
They've got, you can get caramel. You can get.
no,
they've got gourmet.
But Alamo puts little pieces of churros chopped up in the popcorn, not Mr. Salty Sprinkle Bunch. You know what I mean? They have
Gotcha.
like really good.
We're gonna trademark Mr. Salty
By the way,
Sprinkle
I'm,
Bunch.
I'm not a popcorn guy. I'm more of a candy guy
Okay.
at the movies. Went out to Alamo once and I just asked for M&Ms. I assume a pack of M&Ms.
Nope.
No, it comes out and looks like a Chinese leftover contaner.
Yep.
With them. I was
A
like,
full thing of M&Ms.
I was like, this is the weirdest.
It is very when you do
I was
ask
was
for
somebody
like.
scooping with their hands and putting it in here.
I bet that those are prepackaged.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
willing to bet that because it is you ask for like they have gummy bears or Reese's Pieces, which or M&Ms, and they come in like this little like Chinese takeout container.
but it's quieter
It
because a bag.
that's
Oh,
it.
does
As
it make
you-
the wrinkling
It's
sound?
good. You're-
That's
you're gonna
exactly
hear 'em
what it
digging in
is.
See, Alamo thinks about all this, and I'm serious. Like, they put so much thought and care into the movie-going experience.
Yeah.
And Kumail Nanjiani said he will come out and shush you
Which I thought
if
was a
you do
great-
not silence your phone or if you talk. So it's,
You at your AMC, you get those bull Nicole Kidman.
look at my
as.
blanket I made. That's at Marcus.
At the draft house, you get Camille Nanjiani telling you turn off your goddamn phones, or I'm going to shush you. I'm going to embarrass you so hard that you want to leave the theater.
So Ghostbusters are back.
Yeah, the ghosts are out, much like the first
juice
one.
is loose.
No, and that's they become the Spanglers. Like,
Well, first,
Okay,
the
the
mayor's
da-
trying to show up and say,
yes,
okay,
we're getting rid. And of
we're going to
course-
arrest you all, and everydick's like, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and he's like,
like,
hey,
oh, yeah.
Dickless.
Yeah. I will say the Phoebe calling him dad thing was so
Bad.
forced and
See,
dumb.
man, I didn't even mind
hate
it.
Hate it.
That was not earned
Especially
whatsoever.
when we just saw a version of this in the Haunted Pool movie. Was it?
Oh.
No. The movie where that wasn't Insidious, where they go into the weird zone.
Oh,
The red door.
Imaginary.
Oh,
yes.
And it was like, she should not call him dad.
No,
He is not her dad.
they're not married.
She
There's-
can love and respect
Yeah.
him, and he can give her away at her lesbian wedding. But
At Ghost Wedding.
yeah, but she's not his dad. I mean, he came into her life when she was 13, 14 years old.
Right. I got to say, just personal way I grew up. I had a stepmom between ages of 5 and 15.
And that's pretty young for her
Yeah.
to come into your life.
And I never called her mom.
Right.
I probably should have, because she was my de facto mom. You know what I
Right.
mean? She raised me, but I never called her mom.
But I don't care if people decide to do that. You
No,
can do what you
but-
want to do. But my
but
point
it
is,
just
I
seems
don't
weird
think
at 15, and I've known this guy for 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
It
is.
is-
Oh,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
my
yeah.
teacher.
But it
Andy was
also-
your teacher. Like,
Yeah.
But it just
no.
didn't get earned in the movie
Yeah.
either. Like the point was,
He-
he wasn't getting called dad, and then
He
all of a
didn't
sudden,
even necessarily want to be called dad. He was just trying to figure out what the dynamics of the relationship.
Yeah,
Not
right,
only
right.
that, she wasn't privy to his whole conversation.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
where he thought she was on the other side of the door?
I felt like it
And-
came
and
out
he
of
was,
nowhere.
And he
that
was
she
doing
would-
this whole thing
Yeah.
of like what I mean,
Yeah.
what our
And
relationship
just because of
was
this
to be. She
experience,
didn't even hear any of that. She wasn't even there.
And now he's dad all of a sudden. I just thought it felt so forced.
It would
Maybe
be-
she's
pull at your
saying it as a
heartstrings.
joke. She's like, "Thanks, Dad."
Yeah.
that would have been fine. That's
But
telling
yeah,
a joke.
It was just a forced, unearned
Yeah.
emotional button.
do we know like where her dad is? Do they ever
don't
reference in the
think
first
so.
one
They
like
said
where
I
her-
don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
But it's different if the movie had a script where there was a conversation between the two of them. She's like,
Right.
"I'm not ever calling you dad," and then all
Right,
of a sudden
right.
they share a moment, and then it's like, "Okay, dad." Like there's no payoff in this because all of a sudden she just does that where
Right.
we have no history of her not calling him dad, thinking he's dad, like
Being conflicted
It's-
about whether or not she should see him that way, like nothing.
Yeah, and they
That's
play it
true.
off like because the end of the first Afterlife had such a good pull at your heartstrings moment.
Right.
They're like, "We need this thing," and he's like, "Oh, do you hear what she said?" And it's like, I
But
hated it.
what I did like is that he calls them the Spanglers.
Yeah.
Like his name is like Gooberman.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, we're the Spanglers. And Carrie Coon's like, oh, are we? We're the okay. But I didn't think about it being a longer episode of the cartoon, but that's exactly what this is.
yeah.
It was just overstuffed. It would have been a lot more fun if he would have taken out all the extraneous.
Yes.
things
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and
Too
all
many
the, all, and all the
characters.
in the callbacks.
Yeah.
I didn't need any of that, and
You
otherwise
can,
it was
you could
fun.
give me William Atherton as the mayor. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
one-
one,
all right,
that
fair.
one that
All
makes
right.
like
But-
that makes sense to a certain degree. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah, failing upwards.
Also, he
That's
wasn't as
dickish.
me. Yeah. By the way, I was watching. I still have cable. I was watching Ghostbusters on AMC the other night. They cut out the dickless
line,
thing,
yeah.
but they left in the
Blowjob?
Ray getting the
Blowjob?
blowjob.
Yeah.
And for one, AMC there anything goes anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you could say the F word on
Right.
Sure.
on there now. I was like, why?
That's weird.
Why?
because that's
even-
the edit that they were supplied
But
and nobody
Yeah.
yeah.
questioned.
They
it.
did that on
the
Walking
edit,
Dead.
The edit left in the
What's that?
Yeah.
ghost
Dropping the
DJ.
F-bombs?
I was like,
Yeah.
weird.
But that is funny that they. Yes, it's true. This man has no dick. Like that's.
Oh, it's great.
It's a perfect line.
And in the edit, it's like it's true. This man is some sort of animal. It doesn't even make
Yes.
any sense.
It's like
it
the-
doesn't makes no sense.
it's the major
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
mother
Yeah.
trucker, or it's
Yeah.
the major league one where he's like, strike this guy out.
You know what happens when you find a This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps.
yes,
Yeah.
that's a great.
Is that
one.
really what that
yes,
is?
That's
From-
from
Big Lebowski.
That's what they say.
When
Yes.
John Goodman is taking a golf club to the car. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps.
You know, there's a
That's so
great. I
funny.
saw a photo from one of the Lebowski Fest. You know, people do the costume contest.
Yeah.
Someone did "Stranger in the Alps," so they were because that's the name of Sam. What's his name's character in there? The cowboy. It's
Oh,
called
Sam
Stranger.
Elliott, yeah.
So they had him in like lederhosen, but with a
Oh,
cardboard
that's
Alps.
pretty good. Yeah, the stranger.
great.
That's a good joke. I like that.
funny.
Yeah, this is. I think this is it was a good time at the movies. Are there problems with it? Without question. If you just go in and you're wanting like a fun, lighthearted Ghostbusters movie, then you're going to be fine. If you don't have high expectations, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, it's just a shame
It
because
is
I think
hard.
the last one was so good. I think they really could have done
I
something.
like this one better than the last one.
Oh,
wow.
I like the last one better.
Okay. This is my problem with the last one. They leaned really hard into the nostalgia, and
Yeah.
it was like this family drama, and I was like, is this what Ghostbusters is supposed to be about?
Yeah.
You know?
I
But it
don't
was
think-
good.
I- here's the
It was
thing.
done very well. I'm not saying it wasn't
I-
done well.
I
don't
don't
go to Ghostbusters and go, oh,
Right? Yeah. Ghostbusters, the original, it's a slob versus snobs comedy.
exactly
you.
what
And-
it is.
And it's all it ever wanted
It's
to be.
Revenge of the Nerds.
It-
It's Porky's. It's Meatballs.
It's Animal House. It's
all
just
of it.
it's Stripes. It's just that, but with ghosts.
Uh-huh.
And I think so. I had joined a Ghostbusters Facebook group and I left it.
You poor
because
bastard.
it
Oh,
was
boy.
such a show.
It's crazy how
They're-
all of these little Snyder
They're
bros
so
or
it's a personal affront to them that
Yeah.
someone might not love this movie as much as them, and they've all decided this movie is great on Wednesday. Right,
Right.
like nobody had seen it yet, and they're so appalled that critics might not like it.
Just like all the other Ghostbusters
It's-
movies critics didn't like.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just, and I was just like that. I gotta
gotta
get
go.
out of here. Like,
Matt F. Bosler loves going into those things
yeah.
and just reading
Oh, like-
and just reading
Oh,
comments.
I mean,
oh, I thought you mean he
It's-
goes in there to stir the
no,
pot?
no,
Like
no.
makes
He just likes to
comments like a
read the.
troll?
He just likes to read the
insane.
comments.
But I think what it really comes
He
down
sends it to us every once in a while.
is that there are people. I think the diehard Ghostbusters fans really love the lore and the characters, and like
that's fair.
but like the lore and the characters aren't that deep or complex. I don't feel like it's a rich enough world to
it's not.
to embrace to that degree. And so like and everybody else, I think for the most part just wants to see a funny movie. And so it's like, I mean, I've kind of made my peace with the fact that like really I liked the first movie.
I did. I love
And
the first movie.
After that, it's just kind of like
Okay.
Yeah, I think
exact same way. And that first movie, I couldn't even put a number on how many times I
Oh.
watched it
Well,
because
same
back
here.
in the 80s,
Yeah.
you know, VHS weren't that
Yeah.
common. That
They were
we
$100.
had maybe 6 movies on VHS.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters was one of them.
Yeah.
My brother and I watched it all.
I mean,
the
it was
time.
so expensive to buy a VHS.
Yes, we
100
bought these used
bucks.
from it was like a place at mom and pop place.
Yeah.
Down. We bought that used.
And it's like if you bought one, it was gonna be it's like when you first got CDs, you were only gonna buy greatest hits.
Yes.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Dark
yeah.
Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
Because it's like you wanted something where you knew every song. And movies were like that. If
Yep.
you're gonna suck it up and buy a VHS for $80 or $90,
Yeah.
like you're gonna get a movie that you know you want to watch repeatedly,
and
like
over and over.
Ghostbusters or Airplane.
Yes.
But yeah, like but same. And I probably saw this movie came out the summer before
84?
I turned 14. So like I mean I probably saw this movie 4 or 5 times just in the
In
theater.
the theater, yes.
Like I
Yeah.
would just go
I've told that story
over and over again.
They must have re-released it because I
Yeah.
saw this in theaters.
Yeah, they
well, I saw a little bit of it in theaters.
Yeah.
Oh.
You
you had a ghost that was reaching in the hole in your popcorn bucket?
No,
Your dad
No.
made you leave during the blowjob?
no. I got through the blowjob. No, wait. Well, it
But
depends.
it wasn't in the movie.
It was in the movie. Oh well, I was with my
not the one
aunt.
that-
I was with my aunt.
Oh,
so
I thought this. Never mind.
No.
This was a different
No,
story.
no.
Okay.
I was a kid,
Yeah.
like a kid, a
Okay,
little kid.
gotcha.
And the scene, when I was growing up, I didn't like things changing into other things. Lou
Famously.
Ferrigno into the Hulk. No, thank you.
Wolf. American Werewolf.
American Werewolf. No, thank you. The Wolfman in Monster
Must have
Squad.
hated Some Like It Hot.
It was terrible. The Wolfman in Monster Squad. No way.
Teen Wolf 2. Jason Bateman.
Teen Wolf 1. I was like, nope.
I know,
I'm
but
just
what
gonna
about Teen
fast.
Wolf 2?
I never saw that. Okay. Nobody did. But the scene in this when the claws come out of the dog, my aunt tells us, she's like, you looked up at me and said, I'm done.
Oh,
And we got up and walked out. and because I couldn't, I was
Okay.
But
That's funny.
But in '84, I would have been 2, so I'm like, there's no way that they took me to the theater at 2 years old, and I was
or that you would remember.
I was cognizant enough to be like, I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore.
I had only seen Ghostbusters 2 once, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, this is why. I've seen that first one so many times, and I watched the second one, and I hardly remembered any of it, and I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah. And another thing that was bad about that, I'm sure you remember this, there was a long gap between those two.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean, because what, 84?
4 and 89?
89 or 90, was it?
I don't think it was 90. I bet
was
it
I
was
still in
89.
I think it was 80s. 89.
Oh, was it? Okay, so
Still,
it's not as
but
long as I
5
thought.
years to
5 years.
wait,
5
and then
years.
you're like,
well, okay. I was thinking
Because
it
they
was
couldn't
longer
get Bill
than
Murray
that.
back on board. Bill Murray back.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that shows in that
and they've
movie.
never really been
He
able to get him
walks
back
through
since.
that movie like he doesn't give a.
Yeah,
And
that's the
it's-
thing. He's bad. He's not good in the second one. He doesn't want to be there.
No.
That's and it shows. And that's when I'm like, this is lame.
Yeah.
This is
It
Well,
is
he
what
didn't
it
want
is.
to be there in the first one.
That's true.
really not even the first
No.
one.
No, the deal was he wanted to make Razor's Edge, and the studio was like, "Well, that sounds like an awful idea," and they really wanted him in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And because Ghostbusters was originally written to be an Aykroyd Belushi movie,
Right. Right.
and then obviously Belushi would not sign the deal
I wonder why.
because he was dead.
That's right.
And so he retooled it, and then it was going to be
It was Chris Rock, right?
No,
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. It was
Eddie
going to be
Murphy.
Eddie Murphy because he had just worked with him in Trading Places,
Right.
and then Eddie Murphy passed so he could do Beverly Hills Cop, so he could headline his own movie because he had just
Can't
done
blame him.
like
a good choice.
He had just done 3 movies where he split billing, right? Because he had done 48 Hours.
Oh, sure.
He had done Trading
Man,
Places.
have you watched that recently?
I mean,
It's it's
Like
holy
The verbiage. in it?
yes.
Yeah.
It
Because
is
Nick Nolte is
crazy.
Nick Nolte's character
is terrible.
straight up racist. But like, I will also say it still kind of works because it's not trying to be cutesy. It's
No.
like this guy's a dick,
Yes.
and they have to work together, so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
still
yeah.
works. But it's definitely jarring.
Boy, oh
yeah.
boy.
It is jarring.
But
Trading Places.
but Trading Places, and then he made Best Defense with Dudley Moore.
Oh, I don't think I've
he
ever
made
seen
so
that.
much money on those
I
Beverly
totally
Hills.
forgot about that
Yeah,
one.
and then that one tanked hard.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I've never seen
And
it.
then he did Beverly Hills Cop and bounced right back.
Well,
It's-
that was
It's
probably
crazy
his biggest
to
hit at that point, wasn't it?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, more
I mean, it's-
so than Trading Places.
Oh yeah, I mean it's probably his biggest hit to
It's
this day.
made so much
Oh,
money.
yeah. It's crazy to think that Landis is coming back for that.
Yeah, that is weird.
Like, I mean, Eddie Murphy was. He's like, I'm never working with him
They,
again.
after Vampire in Brooklyn, hated
Would
each
not
other.
work with him.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of look. I know I love John Landis, early John Landis, new John Landis, not very good.
Murderer, John. Landis?
Murder,
yeah,
child killer John Landis. I am very interested to see what this movie looks like.
yeah,
You know.
same. But
So we'll see.
but yeah, so I don't even remember where I started off.
Oh, you were
with that.
talking about Razor's Edge. He wanted.
Oh, yeah, so he
it's one for me, one for you.
They traded
Yeah.
off, and that he agreed to do Ghostbusters in order to do.
I might watch Razor's Edge.
and Razor's Edge was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like the original version.
The interesting footnote on Razor's Edge, there's a scene where he's giving a eulogy, and he's like, this man was fat and dumb, and nobody liked him. And that is almost word for word, that whole scene is the eulogy he gave for John Belushi.
that's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
yikes!
But also, it doesn't really fit in that
Yeah.
story. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. But I want to say for Ghostbusters 2, like, I think had he just gotten divorced and he needed the money?
Could be.
Well, I mean,
Hey,
had he had a hit?
I know
around
that
time?
life.
Yeah.
I mean, was this
Yeah.
what was the movie he did with Richard Dreyfuss?
What about Bob?
What about Bob?
Was
That's
this around that
No, this
time?
would have been later because that was in the 90s.
What about Bob? Was in the
What
90s?
about
Yeah.
Bob is in the 90s.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Groundhog Day, like that whole little
Well,
run.
That's in the 90s as
Scrooge?
well.
Scrooged?
90s.
Scrooge
Was
is-
80s?
Is no,
No,
I think
that's 90s.
Scrooged is early 90s.
Wow.
91,
Okay, well, I'm all messed
93
up
maybe.
Um,
He has a very interesting career
Yeah.
because he
What
would
did
do
he
kind of
hit?
like those screwball.
It's weird that he's been canceled so much recently, but they're like, but for Ghostbusters, he's back, and no one talks about
Well,
it. But it's
I don't know.
he's-
When he showed up in, well, it's not like my theater was that crowded last time, but I didn't hear a pop.
yeah,
You
I
know
just
what I
don't
mean?
think
It's not
people
like
are
people are
that
like, "Woo!"
into him.
when
well, he
anymore.
was also all over the trailer, so there's no surprise to
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
right,
good
right,
point.
So let's see. So just looking at his resume from 80 on. So he's in Caddyshack, and then he's in Loose Shoes. He's in Stripes, Tootsie,
Stripes.
Ghostbusters, and then 84 is Ghostbusters, Nothing Lasts Forever, whatever that is.
I have no idea what that is.
And then The Razor's Edge, and then he pops up in for one scene in Little Shop of Horrors in 86. In 88, he has an uncredited scene in She's Having a Baby, which I don't remember. So
That's a good movie.
Scrooge is 88.
Okay.
Ghostbusters 2 is 89. 90 is Quick Change, which you've never seen. I cannot recommend
So
it highly
good.
enough. It might be my favorite Bill Murray movie.
Okay.
Wow, really?
I would agree
love
with
Quick
that.
Wow.
Change
It is
so much. And then 91 is What About Bob, Groundhog Day, Mad Dog and Glory, Ed Wood, Kingpin is 96.
Kingpin is
He
the
was
turn.
great in Kingpin.
Yeah.
Kingpin is the turn though, where he starts doing those weird.
See, I think Rushmore is the turn.
Oh, sure.
It's because it's like Kingpin,
That's fair.
Larger Than Life, shot in St. Louis, Space Jam, The Man Who Knew Too Little.
Bad.
I forgot he was in Wild Things.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then Rushmore.
Once he got in the Wes Anderson stuff,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
he
yeah,
became
yeah.
the cult figure, the chive, and all that. I
Yep,
mean, he
yep,
became
yep.
all. So Bill Murray says he got tricked into starring in Ghostbusters 2. I joined under false pretenses. I thought that the only reason anyone would make another one was just to make money, and I was probably the most reluctant. Someone outfoxed me anyway. I don't know if Ivan set it up, but they got us all back together in a room, and really, we hadn't been together in a room since the movie came out, and it was really, really fun to be together. We were really funny together. Those were some really wonderful, really funny guys and girls. Sigourney Weaver, Annie Potts. There's some really spectacular women and funny as hell. They got us together. They pitched us a story idea that was really great. I thought, holy cow, we could make that work. Murray agreed to star in Ghostbusters 2 based on the pitch, but that pitch never materialized into what would become the sequel screenplay. As the comedian explained, it ended up not being the story they wrote. They got us in the sequel under false pretenses. Harold had this great idea, but by the time we got to shooting, I showed up on set and went, what the hell is this? What is this thing? But we were already shooting it, so we had to figure it out. So they pitched him and they wrote a different script.
That's a legit complaint. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that happens.
Now
But
I'm
I will
curious, like,
also
what
say
what the pitch was.
Murray's got a history of like saying he got tricked into movies.
Garfield.
Was like Garfield.
That was the biggest beat line of BS.
Yeah, where he's like thought it was a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Sure you did.
Well, because it's directed by Joel Coen, but it's
Oh.
it's
different,
it's
a different one.
different
It's spelled
spelling.
different.
Yeah, it's
too.
like C.
And also, really, do you really they're
then
gonna fall for that?
Then
I mean,
explain Garfield 2.
yeah, exactly. Also, read the script. Does it look like a Coen Brothers
Right.
movie? Does
Well,
it
see,
sound like something they would do?
This is why you have agents and not answering machines.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you. That's right.
Also true. But anyway,
There you go.
so I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, and on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And this is Tom. You can follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Matt, where can they find you and your wares?
You can find me on Instagram, Matt Reedy 219.
And so don't forget you can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our Patreon at patreon.com/Real Spoilers. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, I close my computer.
Oh my God.
Come on, computer, wake up.
Until next time, the Wolfman has nards.
The Wolfman does have nards.
Until next time, Larry stows away in Mary's trunk.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you.